doing today? We're fixing the 3D printer. It's a old RipRap. I have been futzing with it for some time now. 3 months in fact. Because I thought, oh yeah, you know, I'm just gonna quickly swap out the motherboard, the Rambo board, for a Duet, right? You know, that's what everybody does with these old things. And it'll be so easy because everybody's doing it, and there'll be lots of documentation, and, you know, I'm not kidding. So I'm sorry I didn't document this, and I didn't make any videos. But, here we go. I was convinced this was going to be a really short job, and now it's 3 months later, and now I've got some sort of wiring fault that I'm presuming is here in the connector, because the connector is so hinky. So what I did was I took out the motherboard, followed all the instructions of the crazy people that are doing this, swapped out the Duet, had to rewire all of the connections, right, so that all the connectors are now using these different pinouts and using different, you know, these new connectors, and getting them all in the right spots. And, you know, after doing all the hardware, I plug the thing in, and it's like, well, you know, I've got this, my hot end is the HE280. It's the old, you know, RipRap from See CNC, and that hot end turns out to just, you know, sort of simply not be compatible with this. And I'm like, well, then why are you selling it? Turns out the old hot end is using I2C to communicate its probe status, because it uses an onboard accelerometer, and this Duet is expecting, you know, a probe, an actual like an FSR or some other kind of probe input. So the guys online, I found some really old documentation about going out and getting one of these little trinket boards from Adafruit and using it to convert the I2C to a simple switch, right? So after getting one of these boards in, it turned out it was the last one they had in stock, and it didn't work. So, you know, little did I know, these trinket boards don't come with a USB driver. They just have a bootloader. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So after tearing my hair out, reading the manuals, reading the instructions, I finally got Adafruit to admit that the bootloader was simply not on the board that I had received. So it was time to send me a new one. Which is a very weird process with those guys, because you have to use the help channel. So my little connector here is pretty sketch. So, and I tried, you know, using some electrical tape just to make sure things were in the right places, but we're going to simply snip that off and redo it. Redo it all. So, of course, Adafruit finally gets to me and says, okay, we authorize you to return this thing. However, we don't have any. So you're going to have to go to DigiKey and just buy it anyway. So I was like, thanks for nothing. We're talking about a $7 part that is costing me months to debug. Oh, now the new part comes in, and it does have a bootloader on it. Yay! Well, I apparently hadn't read quite far enough, because there was a section, neither had the help person apparently, on the forum. All they tried to do was sell me a different part. And I was like, no, I'm sticking with this part because this is what's in the instruction manual. Yes, it's old. You're right. I'm not going to say it's not old. It is old. But I'm trying to make an old printer work. So I need the old part. So in the instruction manual, there is a section that says, oh, by the way, sometimes these things ship and the bootloader is not on them. So if you have an Uno board, which I can't remember if I do or not, upload the bootloader software to the chip. So that was probably all that was wrong with it. Of course, if they had told me that, I probably would have exploded at them at that point in time. Once I finally got a board working, soldered it in, you know, I'm in the final step, right? The last step of this whole build. And now, mind you, the Duet is a piece of... I bought it because it's Wi-Fi, woo-wee Wi-Fi, but there's no USB backup. I didn't realize that. So when the Wi-Fi, you know, server fails to initialize, which it seems to do about 25% of the time, you know, you get nothing. Like, nothing. You just get nothing. And you just can't use your machine. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So you're sitting there power cycling, and it feels like a Windows machine. Just to get this stupid thing to turn on. Just so that you can even talk to it. Because if the Wi-Fi is not up, there's nothing. Machine. Oh, so configuring the Duet is also a piece of work. You know, it's actually so hard that CNC says, who I love, don't mind, you know, the bitterness in my voice. It's just been this horrific particular build. They say, oh, just go to the Duet pages, because we can't possibly maintain, you know, user-friendly version of any of that stuff. It's way too involved. It changes all the time, my goodness. You know, and when I called the CNC guys, I'm like, come on, how come your hot end, which you're still selling, it's not like this is an outdated hot end, the HE280, and it works fine, but why don't you mention that it's not compatible, buyer beware, with the Duet? So what they want you to do is buy their little upgrade kit, which comes with different arms and different motors and things, and I'm just, well, I should say, I finally broke down and bought this stupid upgrade kit because I cried uncle. When I built this, originally, there was a piece of heat shrink tubing. And I wanted you to put over this connector, and CNC has this really funny, you know, process of, well, stretch the heat shrink tubing, get it to be the right size, and then slip it over the connector. So after tinning these wires and shoving them back into connector, I put it all back together, power the thing up, and wouldn't you know it, it's like the machine knew that I bought the extra part, because it started to work. Well, almost. It's calibrating now, but all of a sudden I have a heater fault, and the thing won't heat at all. So it's a good thing I bought the other arms and the other parts, and once they arrive, I'll make a proper video. Something that shows you what I'm actually doing, instead of hiding behind the upgrade.